Okay, I did my project on hematology, the scientific study of blood and blood forming tissues. Normally, between 7 and 8% of human body weight is from blood. In adults, this amount to 4.5 to 6 quarts of blood. This essential fluid carries out the critical functions of transporting oxygen and nutrients to our cells and getting rid of carbon dioxide, ammonia, and other waste products. In addition, it plays a vital role in our immune system and is maintaining a relatively consistent body temperature. Blood is a highly specialized tissue composed of more than 4,000 different kinds of components. Four of the most important ones are the red cells, white cells, platelets, and plasma. All humans produce these blood components. There are no pollutional or regional differences. Blood formed in liver and spleen of the fetus until the third trimester. Red cells or erythrocytes are relatively large microscopic cells without nuclei. In this latter trait, they are similar to the primitive prokaryotic cells of bacteria. Red cells are normally made up of 40 to 50% of the total blood volume. They transport oxygen from the lungs to all the living tissues of the body and carry away carbon dioxide. The red cells are produced continuously in our bone marrow from stem cells at a rate of about 2 to 3 million cells per second. Hemoglobin is the gas transporting protein molecule that makes up 95% of a red cell. Each cell is about 270 million iron rich hemoglobin. Each day, a healthy bone marrow will produce 2 billion erythrocytes, 2.5 billion thrombocytes, and 1 billion leukocytes. White cells or leukocytes exist in variable numbers and types, but make up a very small part of blood's volume, normally only about 1% in healthy people. Leukocytes are not limited to blood, they occur elsewhere in the body as well, most notably in the spleen, liver, and lymph glands. Most are produced in our bone marrow from the same kind of stem cells that produce red blood cells. Others are produced in the thymus gland. Some white cells called lymphocytes are the first responders for our immune system. They seek out identify, and bind to alien protein on bacteria, viruses, and fungi so that they can be removed. Other white cells called granulocytes and macrophages then arrive to surround and destroy the alien cells. They also have the function of getting rid of dead or dying blood cells as well as foreign matter such as dust and asbestos. Red cells remain viable for only about 4 months before they are removed from the blood and their components recycled in the spleen. Individual white cells usually only last 18 to 36 hours before they are also removed even though some types live as much as a year. Platelets or thrombocytes are cell fragments without nuclei that work with blood clotting chemicals at the site of wounds. They do this by adhering to the walls of blood vessels, thereby plugging the rupture in the vascular wall. They also can release coagulating chemicals, which cause clots to form in the blood that can plug up narrow blood vessels. 13 different blood clotting factors, in addition to platelets, need to interact for clotting to occur. Those 13 factors would be: factor 1 is fibroxin, factor 2 is prothrombin, factor 3 is tissue thromboplastin, which is a tissue factor, factor 4 is ionized calcium, factor 5 is Labelle factor or proactyrin, factor 6 is unassigned, factor 7 is stable factor, Factor 8 is anti-hemophilic factor. Factor 9 is plasma thromboplastin component, also known as the Christmas factor. Factor 10 is Stewart-Peror factor. Factor 11 is plasma thromboplastin. Factor 12 is Hagman factor. And factor 13 is fibrin stabilizing factor. They do this in a cascading manner, one factor triggering to another. The body's eternal biological clock causes the peak of platelet activation in the morning. This is one of the main reasons that strokes and heart attacks are more common in the morning. Recent research has shown that platelets also help fight infections by releasing proteins that kill invading bacteria and some other microorganisms. In addition, platelets stimulate the immune system. Individual platelets are one-third the size of red cells. They have a lifespan of 9 to 10 days. Like the red and white blood cells, platelets are produced in the bone marrow from stem cells. In the blood clotting process, there are two processes at work. The blood congelation factors and blood proteins play important roles in the thrombin system. I apologize. When bleeding occurs, the system starts to work and releases these chemicals into the bloodstream, where they begin creating fibrin. This chemical is very sticky and starts attaching to the area around the wound so it can begin catching the red blood cells before they have a chance to escape. Platelets become very sticky so they can cling together. They begin to attach themselves to the wall of the vein or artery where the wound appears so they can stop the bleeding. The fibrin, for example, interacts with the platelets and tightens them to form a more effective seal of the wound. Plasma is a relatively clear yellow tinted water, sugar, fat, protein, and salt solution, which carries the red cells, white cells, and platelets. Normally, 55% of our body's volume is made up of plasma. As the heart pumps blood to cells throughout the body, plasma brings nourishment to them and removes the waste produced of metabolism. Plasma also contains blood clotting factors, sugars, lipids, vitamins, minerals, hormones, enzymes, antibodies, and other proteins. It is likely that plasma contains some of every protein produced by the body. Approximately 500 have been identified in human plasma so far. The blood temperature is normally 38 degrees due to friction of blood flow. Hematology is the branch of internal medicine, physiology, pathology, clinical laboratory work, and pediatrics that is concerned with the study of blood, the blood forming organs, and the blood diseases. Hematology includes the study of etiology, diagnosis, treatment, prognosis, and prevention of blood diseases. Blood diseases affect the production of blood and its components such as blood cells, hemoglobin, blood proteins, and mechanisms of coagulation. Normal red blood cells are disc-shaped and look like donuts without holes in the center. They move easily through your blood vessels. Red blood cells contain hemoglobin and iron-rich protein that gives blood its red color. For my choice of a disease, I use sickle cell because my little cousin has it, and I've seen him with this disease his whole life. Now that he's, I believe, 15, it seems to be something that's manageable, but I've seen him in pain. I've seen him getting the blood work done that he had to get done. So I decided to do sickle cell as one of my diseases. Sickle cell anemia is the most common form of sickle cell disease. Sickle cell disease is a serious disorder in which the body makes sickle-shaped red blood cells. Sickle shape means that the red blood cells are shaped like a crescent. Sickle cells contain abnormal hemoglobin that causes the cells to have a sickle or crescent shape. These cells don't move easily through the blood vessels. They're stiff and sticky and tend to form clumps and get stuck in the blood vessels. Other cells also may play a role in this clumping process. The clumps of sickle cells block blood flow in the blood vessels in the limbs and organs. When blood vessels are blocked by the sickle shaped red blood cells, parts of the body are deprived of oxygen. Blocked blood vessels can cause pain, serious infections, and organ damage. Furthermore, abnormal red blood cells are destroyed at an unusual high rate, causing a shortage of red blood cells called anemia. Sickle cell disease occurs in 8 out of every 100,000 people. Is most common in people of African and Hispanic descent. In the United States, 1 out of every 500 African Americans and 1 out of every 1,000 to 1,400 Hispanic Americans have sickle cell disease. I apologize. A total of about 72,000 Americans have this condition. Once a baby is conceived, prenatal testing can determine whether that baby has a sickle cell disease. While this won't change whether or not the baby has a disease, it can prepare you to care for the baby and obtain the best medical treatment possible. I also picked another disease, which was chronic lymphocytic leukemia, or CLL, which is a little easier for myself. It's a type of cancer. CLL is the most common chronic leukemia in the United States. In fact, over 15,000 new cases of CLL are expected each year. For some people with CLL, the disease grows so slowly they might not need any type of treatment. In other cases, CLL is considered a serious disease. When treated, CLL may respond to treatment for a period of time, then the disease may advance. In people with CLL, too many abnormal white blood cells known as lymphocytes build up in the blood, bone marrow, spleen, and lymph nodes. Over time, these cells may crowd healthy cells, resulting in fewer normal blood cells and platelets. Throughout the disease, the person or patient may or may not have symptoms. Symptoms of CLL may include a swollen lymph nodes in the neck, armpit. The swelling can be painless. They can have discomfort or a feeling of fullness in the abdomen, feeling very tired or weak, feeling short of breath, fever, night sweats or weight loss, or infections of the skin or body. Another just to know or FYI fact that I found was that there is an American Society of Hematology, and they help hematologists conquer blood diseases worldwide. So they write different articles, different stories, and those type of things on blood diseases or conditions that they've heard of or they've seen or they actually had someone come and tell them about, and they would write an article about it. They also write different articles about different patients that had things and the different treatments and procedures that they went through to hopefully overcome that situation or that disease, and the different things that that patient went through and the different feelings that they had. you know I want to say not the different feelings that they had towards that problem or that situation or that disease, but the different feelings that they had towards the different treatments and the different options that they can actually have for you know, their problems, personal problems. Um, that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.